There's a 5-gallon bucket sitting on the floor of a utility room in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. It cost about $6 to fill. It will wash the clothes of an entire family for the next 2 months. Work clothes, barn clothes, bed sheets, children's, everything, all of it, for $6 and 20 minutes of a Saturday afternoon. The jug of laundry detergent sitting next to your washing machine right now costs somewhere between $18 and $25. Most of what is inside it is water, dyed blue, heavily perfumed, shipped across the country in a plastic bottle you will throw away and replace next month and the month after that for the rest of your life. The Amish have known the alternative for generations. The detergent industry has known it too, and the reason you are carrying that heavy blue jug to the checkout counter every few weeks instead of spending $6 once and making your own is not because the store version works better. It is because there is no profit in teaching you to stop buying. I went to Lancaster County to look at how Amish households handle the things that cost the rest of us a significant amount of money every single year without anyone ever explaining why. Laundry detergent was one of the most striking examples. The solution is not complicated. It has been working in homes for well over a century. The more interesting question is not how they do it. It is why the rest of the country does not. The answer always comes down to who profits from the gap between what something costs to make and what you are charged to buy it. I'm going to show you exactly what goes into that bucket, how it is made, what it costs, and what it honestly does well and does not. Because there are people on the internet who will tell you homemade laundry soap beats every commercial detergent at everything, and that is not true, and you deserve an honest answer instead of a sales pitch in the other direction. But first, let me show you what you are actually paying for when you buy that jug, because once you see it clearly, it is hard to unsee. Pick it up and feel how heavy it is. That weight is mostly water. Not a special water, not treated water, not water that does anything a glass from your tap could not also do. Plain water there to give the product volume and to make the bottle feel substantial in your hand. The actual cleaning compounds in a standard liquid laundry detergent make up somewhere between 10 and 20% of the total contents by weight, depending on the brand. The rest is water, thickeners, dyes, and fragrance. The fragrance is worth thinking about carefully because it is doing a job that has nothing to do with cleaning. When you pull a load of wash out of the machine and it smells like a mountain meadow or whatever name is printed on the label, your brain registers that smell as clean. That association was not accidental. It was built deliberately over decades of marketing. Every load trained your nose to connect that manufactured scent with the feeling of a job well done. The smell is not evidence of clean clothes, it is a learned reflex, and manufactured fragrance is one of the most expensive ingredients in the bottle. You are paying for a scent that tells you nothing real about whether the dirt came out. Getting clothes actually clean does not require any of that. It requires 3 things: something to break the grip of grease and oil so they can lift away from the fabric, something to manage the minerals in your water so the cleaning agents can do their job without interference, and something alkaline to open up the fibers and let the dirt release. 3 functions. 3 inexpensive ingredients, all of them sitting on a low shelf in the laundry aisle at any grocery store. None of them advertised on television, all of them doing exactly what they are supposed to do. Here is exactly what goes into the bucket in the order it matters. The first ingredient is washing soda, not baking soda. They look similar and they are chemically related, but they are not the same. Washing soda is sodium carbonate, significantly more alkaline, and that alkalinity is what you need. When it dissolves in the wash water, it raises the pH, and that environment loosens grease, oil, and ground-in dirt and lets them release from the fabric. It is the workhorse of the recipe. The yellow box costs $4 to $5 on the laundry aisle and lasts through several batches, making the per batch cost very low. The second ingredient is borax, a naturally occurring mineral, sodium tetraborate mined from dry lake beds, used in laundry for well over 100 years. A box costs about the same as the washing soda, $4 to $5, and one box goes a long way. The specific job borax does is water softening. Most of the United States has hard water, water with high concentrations of dissolved calcium and magnesium minerals. Hard water is the enemy of soap. The minerals bind with soap molecules and dirt particles and form a scum that leaves a faint film on fabric instead of washing it away. If you have ever pulled towels out of the machine feeling stiff and dull, hard water is almost certainly the reason. Borax neutralizes those minerals before they can interfere, so the soap can do its job instead of fighting the water chemistry all the way through the cycle. The third ingredient is a bar of plain soap, grated, not a beauty bar loaded with moisturizers, just plain soap. A Castile bar, a simple laundry bar, anything with a short ingredient list. A couple of dollars. You grate it on a kitchen box grater and it comes apart into fine flakes that melt easily. This is your actual surfactant, the compound that grabs grease at one end and water at the other and lifts soil out of the fabric. One bar contains more cleaning power than a full jug of the blue liquid because the bar is almost entirely soap and the jug is mostly water. Those 3 ingredients are the whole recipe. Buy all 3 and you spend around $12 to $13 total, most of it carrying over to the next batch. The actual cost of one batch works out to roughly $6. Before describing how to make it, there is a safety note that matters and should not be skipped. Washing soda and borax are both alkaline and not gentle on bare skin. Extended contact will irritate your hands, and if either gets in your eyes, it will sting badly. Wear gloves when mixing. More importantly, borax is harmful if swallowed, especially for children and pets. Keep both boxes stored high and out of reach, the same as any other cleaning supply. Use correctly with gloves on and boxes stored up high away from children. This recipe has been in continuous use for over a century. It is entirely safe. It deserves the same basic respect you give any cleaning product in your home. Now here is how it is made in order, step by step. Grate the bar of soap into fine flakes about a cup. Melt those flakes in 2 or 3 cups of water in a saucepan on low heat, stirring until completely smooth, about 10 minutes. Fill a 5-gallon bucket halfway with the hottest tap water you have. Pour in the melted soap. Add a cup of washing soda and a cup of borax. Stir for a couple of minutes until you feel it begin to thicken. Top the bucket off with cold tap water, give it a final stir, put the lid on, and leave it overnight. This is the step people want to rush and cannot. The overnight rest is not optional. The chemistry needs time to complete and the mixture needs time to cool and set. By morning, the entire bucket will have transformed into a soft, thick gel similar in consistency to a loose pudding. That gel is the laundry soap. The whole bucket of it made in one evening for $6, sitting on your shelf and ready to use. It will separate as it sits over days. The gel relaxes and some water pools on top. That is completely normal and it does not mean anything went wrong. Just stir it before each use and it comes right back together. Use a 1/4 to 1/2 cup per load in a standard machine. For high-efficiency front loaders, 1 to 2 tablespoons is enough as those machines use very little water. The recipe is naturally low suds, which suits HE machines well. Run an occasional empty hot cycle with a cup of vinegar in any HE machine to prevent long-term buildup inside the drum. 1 bucket at these quantities will carry a busy household through roughly 2 months of regular laundry. A smaller household will find a bucket lasting considerably longer. Now the part that determines whether this works beautifully or whether people try it once and go back to the store. This is the piece that almost nobody mentions, and it is the reason the failure stories exist. Hard water. The borax in the recipe handles most of the mineral interference, but in areas with very hard water, even borax-treated soap can over time leave a faint buildup on fabric. Not immediately obvious after 1 or 2 washes, but gradually after weeks of use, towels may feel slightly stiff, whites may look a little dull, and clothes may not feel quite as soft as they should. This is the mineral and soap residue that the water did not fully rinse away. It is not the soap failing. It is the water fighting back. The fix is so simple and so cheap it almost seems too easy, and it is the single most important detail in making this recipe work everywhere in every water condition for every family that tries it. White vinegar. Plain, cheap, grocery store white vinegar. The cheapest gallon on the lowest shelf of the condiment aisle. The mineral buildup hard water leaves on fabric is alkaline. The soap residue that hard water prevents from rinsing away is also alkaline. Vinegar is mildly acidic and it neutralizes that residue and carries it away completely in the rinse. Nothing left on the fabric, no scum, no stiffness. Pour 1/2 cup into the fabric softener slot of the machine or add it manually at the start of the rinse. The vinegar smell evaporates entirely as the clothes dry. By the time why come off the line or out of the dryer, it is completely gone. 1/2 cup of vinegar in the rinse is also the only fabric softener needed. No dryer sheet, no commercial softener. That combination, soap gel in the wash and vinegar in the rinse, is the complete system. Now the honest accounting of what this soap does and does not do, because overselling it would be as dishonest as not telling you about it at all. What it does very well is the everyday load. Sweat, body oils, regular dust and dirt, the ordinary grime of ordinary daily life and ordinary work. For the load that represents 90% of what any household washes on any given week, this soap is entirely sufficient. It cleans completely and leaves clothes fresh without any manufactured fragrance, which is either irrelevant or actively beneficial depending on your household. People with sensitive skin, children prone to rashes, adults whose scalp or skin cannot tolerate the perfume in commercial detergents often find plain soap to be not just adequate but a genuine improvement. The absence of synthetic fragrance is not a limitation. It is clean clothes that smell like nothing, which is exactly what clean clothes are. What it does not do as effectively is heavy-set staining. Commercial detergents contain enzymes, laboratory-engineered compounds that break down the molecular structure of blood, grass, grease, and similar stubborn stains. Protease for protein stains, lipase for fats, amylase for starch. The formulations are genuinely sophisticated for that purpose. The plain soap recipe does not contain them and will not fully remove a set-in stain on its own. The solution is not to abandon the recipe. It is to treat the stain before the garment goes into the machine. A dab of undiluted soap gel rubbed directly into the stain, or a purpose-made stain treatment applied before washing, addresses what the wash cycle alone cannot. Spot treat first, then wash as normal, and the results are comparable. For the ordinary daily load, no pretreatment is needed. For the hard stain, one extra step takes care of it. That is a fair and honest trade for the cost difference. Here is the number that puts all of this in perspective. The average American household spends between $150 and $300 per year on laundry detergent, not including fabric softener, dryer sheets, or stain treatments. The 3-ingredient recipe costs roughly $6 per batch. A family running through a batch every 2 months spends about $36 a year on laundry soap, including the vinegar, under $50 for the full year. That gap is not a rounding error. It is the difference between what the product actually costs to make and what you pay for the bottle, the shipping across the country, the advertising budget, and the fragrance that does no cleaning whatsoever. The detergent companies know exactly what is in their product. They know what percentage of every jug is water. They know the actual cleaning compounds could be sold to you in a box for $4 and last a year. They chose instead to sell you water in a heavy plastic jug for $25. Train your nose to believe a manufactured smell equals clean, and rely on the fact that you will keep carrying that jug to the checkout without questioning what is inside it. The residential laundry detergent market in the United States generates approximately $8 billion in annual revenue. A 3-ingredient recipe that costs $6 and takes 20 minutes to make is a direct threat to that number. Not because it is a secret. All 3 ingredients are on a low shelf at the grocery store right now, available to anyone who walks past the jug aisle and looks. The reason most people have never tried it is not availability. It is that no one ever told them to look. There is no advertising budget for washing soda. There is no commercial for borax. The information gap is not an accident, it is the business model. The Amish have never needed anyone to sell them laundry detergent because they never built the habit of buying it. The recipe in that Lancaster County bucket is not innovative. It is the continuation of a practice that predates the plastic jug by over a century. It survived not because no one tried to replace it, but because it works, and because the people using it were never persuaded the expensive alternative was worth the cost. There are tens of thousands of Amish households across Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, and beyond, none of them on a monthly subscription, none of them noticing when the price goes up. They opted out because the alternative was sitting on a low shelf for $5 a box and it worked. They did not do it because they had to. They did it because it made sense. And the knowledge did not come from a special source or a specialist. It came from paying attention to what actually worked and not being persuaded to stop. Here is exactly what to do this week. Next time you are at the store, walk past the detergent aisle. Go to the cleaning supplies section and find washing soda, the yellow box that says washing soda, not baking soda. Pick up borax on the same shelf. Get a plain bar of soap with a short ingredient list, Castile or a simple laundry bar. Grab a gallon of white vinegar on the way out. Under $15 for all of it, and most carries over to the next batch. At home, grate the soap into fine flakes, melt them in a few cups of water over low heat until smooth, pour into a half-full bucket of hot water with a cup of washing soda and a cup of borax. Top it off, stir, lid on, leave overnight. In the morning, you have a bucket of gel soap. Quarter to half cup per load in a standard machine, a tablespoon in a high-efficiency machine, half a cup of white vinegar in the rinse. Wear gloves when mixing. Store the boxes up high. That is the full system. Everything you need, nothing you do not. Drop your state in the comments and tell me whether you have hard water, because that determines whether the vinegar step is optional or essential. If someone in your family has sensitive skin or a reaction to commercial fragrance, try one load and come back and tell me what happened. If your grandmother made her own wash soap, I want to hear about it. The regional variations, the small adjustments, the specific ingredients different families used. That knowledge belongs to everyone who reads it. The recipe in that bucket is over 100 years old. It cleaned clothes for generations before the plastic jug existed. It did not disappear because something better replaced it. It disappeared from most households because someone figured out how to sell you water in a plastic jug and spend enough on advertising to convince your nose it was worth $25. Now you know what is in both buckets. One of them is yours to make this weekend for $6.